Empowa is a real five project that is building on the Cardano blockchain. They are leveraging the power of blockchain and decentralized lending to solve the huge housing issue that exists in Africa. This is a real issue considering that 84% of Africans don't have a permanent roof over their heads, don't have their own house to live in. Through blockchain, they are able to provide housing loans for Africans at an affordable interest rate, while also providing their users with a very interesting and secure source of yield. Learn more about this project in this video, and where we'll dive deeper into a more fundamental analysis assessing its chance of success, considering the whole picture and the most important variables for its success. As always, please bear in mind that nothing in this video is financial advice, just educational content. Empowa has a great mission, and it's trying to solve a huge problem. Definitely, to get a complete fundamental analysis of this project, it's important to dive deeper into the problem, the solutions that Empowa is proposing, and also to check the progress and interesting metrics that they were able to achieve so far. We've dived deeper into all of that in the first video that I'll leave here at the top for you to watch. If you haven't seen it yet, it's definitely a video you should watch to complete valuable information you'll be getting in this video. Here the focus will be on more specific things of the project. We'll dive deeper into how everything should work, the products that Empowa is creating, the technology that Empowa is using as well. We'll look at initiatives and opportunities. We'll also dive deeper into their token and their tokenomics and how everything is connected to make Empowa work, both for Africans but also for you out there on the other side of the screen that might want to invest in these assets to actually be able to get some yield. I believe those are really crucial aspects to understand about Empowa and to assess their quality and the chances of success of the project. With that in mind, let's understand how Empowa works in practice. So for that, we have here a small graph for us to analyze of how Empowa works and how all the financial flows are processed. So as we can see here, we have Empowa Digital Platform at the center. This platform received the investment both from accredited investors, but also investment for the online community from the crypto community. It's also important to notice that service providers provide collateral that is used to back and secure the money that is invested online by the crypto community. Through the Empowa digital platform, once this money is loaned by the users of the platform and by accredited investors, the platform provides this money to the service providers as a loan as well. And the service providers are the ones responsible to build the house and to make the lease-to-own facility to clients. Clients on their side make their payments to the service providers, as we can see here, and service providers send that money, the part that is due to the Empowa digital platform and to the people that loaned the money in the first place. They send it to the digital platform, which in turn distributes these payments as rewards and returns both to accredited investors and to the crypto online investors. Okay, we'll dive deeper into some of the things related with every step of the way, but this is a very overall explanation that I think allows you to understand the bigger picture of how Empowa actually works. So as we can see here, for the first step, Empowa actually raises money through the SDRIs, that are secure defined return instruments. Okay, these are basically NFTs, tradable NFTs that have value, the value there, the value that was loaned by the person and that was made available, and the yield they are supposed to gain in return for the money they lend to the Empowa digital platform. These NFTs can be traded in the market whenever users are in need of liquidity. So whenever users decide, whenever they need money, they can put the NFT in the market and they can get an offer and actually sell their NFTs. Okay, and if they're in a rush, they can put a lower price. If not, they can hold for longer and have a higher price. But it's a very useful feature That gives more liquidity and security to investors because they are actually able to cash out of the investment whenever they need it. Then we also have here the collateral, okay? The collateral for the SDRIs that we just explained you what they are. This collateral is supplied through the use of the Empowa token. The Empowa token is the collateral that secures the protocol. This is supplied by the local developer of the house, the service provider we were talking about in the previous diagram. And they buy it either from the open market, creating a demand driver for the Empowa token, or they can actually lend it from the community while providing a yield for that loan in the process. Okay, lending from the community is using the staking vaults that are being developed, and that I'll explain you a little bit more of what they are later. Naturally, as you can imagine, this collateral is sold in case of default of the lenders, and in order to pay back the buyers of these SDRIs. This might seem simple and easy to understand, but this is actually a very important feature of the Empower ecosystem. This makes the collateral extremely liquid, and it increases the liquidity for the SDRIs, reducing the risk for investors, because it's very easy in case of default to transfer the value in this collateral through the owner of the SDRI, while it is much harder and much more expensive to actually recover the physical assets, that is in this case a home. So yeah, if you want, you can dive deeper into how all of this works and these dynamics between the collateral and the rest of the platform and the loans by diving deeper into the Empower black paper. I'll actually leave it here in the description below, so feel free to check it for more information. For loans and loan repayments, as you've probably noticed, Empower partners with in-country service providers, service partners, I would say, that have the necessary knowledge and experience to better serve the market, because they are already familiar with it. For example, in Mozambique, they have partnered with Casa Real. That is a company that has been doing a lot of work in helping Mozambicans find a home. So, they know the demand, the people that want a home, and they also understand what is necessary to build those homes for the individuals. So yeah, Empower basically provides this entity with the loans, with the funds they need to create the homes, and doesn't have the responsibility to manage the lease-to-own contract with the tenants, the daily payments, and all the process of building these homes and making them available to the population. In this very interesting process, we also have the use of Empowa Pay as a very important tool to record and digitize both the tenant and the service partner and the service provider payments in real time in the blockchain, increasing both the transparency and the finality and making sure there's no mistakes. Another very crucial feature of the Empowa ecosystem is the lease-to-own dynamics, the lease-to-own payments for the houses. This feature it's a better fit for the realities of Africa and the realities of African clients. These contracts actually allow for Africans to lease their home, to live in their home and lease it, but the rent payments they are making every month goes to actually buy the house after a predefined period of time and period of payments. And as long as they make all the payments, they will actually be able to become the house owners without the need for loans and for significant down payments. This is a especially valuable feature because in Africa there is almost no credit records and more than 80% of the income is informal. So traditional mortgages is something that is almost impossible to access to the majority of Africans, or actually something extremely expensive because they don't have the necessary records. And that is why, as we've seen in the first video, Empowa is having an impact in financial inclusion in Africa because this method actually allows people to use their informal incomes to actually start acquiring their own house. In addition, this method is also better and less riskier for everyone involved, as for example, the service provider that is responsible for building the home and for leasing it to the client actually still has the home in their power and in their name. And in case this person is not making their payments, They get to keep the home to themselves, and they get to lease it again to another individual that has the conditions to make the payments and to actually acquire the house. Now that we understand the dynamics, I think it's very important to understand the technology, what are the things behind all these dynamics, and what facilitates the entire process. These are the technologies that are being developed and improved by Empowa to actually tackle this huge issue in Africa and the issue with this housing market. Well, starting here with Empowa Pay, that is an app to track and record payments and manage payments between the lease-to-own clients and the service providers. And here on the right side, we have an image with some of the records and information that this tool allows to register and quickly gather whenever it's necessary. Then we have here Empowa Trade. Empowa Trade is the platform for investors to actually buy SDRIs. We have the primary market where borrowers issue new debt. So they issue the NFTs and people can actually buy these NFTs and contribute and get a certain yield for them. And then we have the secondary market where this debt can be traded at any price that is set by the NFT holders. Now let's dive a bit deeper into the Empowa token and the tokenomics. The purpose of this token is to collateralize investments in affordable housing. The EMP collateral is supplied by developers as collateral for loans, as we've seen before. There is a collateralization index that is used to determine and to set how much EMP must be purchased to secure a specific amount of a loan. But I think what is important to notice is that one EMP token represents $100 of an house. As we can see here, the EMP token has a total supply of 200 million tokens, and it also has a circulation supply right now of 23 million EMP tokens. Okay, the price, as we can see here, is around 14 cents per EMP token, and looking at the chart, we can see that EMP token is almost a little bit below its all-time highs. All-time highs were of 18 cents, and we are at 14 cents, which is pretty good, I would say. It's interesting to notice that this token was initially sold for 25 cents, so we are far from public sale values, I would say. And recently we had a big jump when Empowa was mentioned by Coinbase for all the great work they are doing in Africa, and that led to that spike in the price of Empowa, almost reaching the previous all-time highs. One of the utilities and things you can do with the Empowa token, or you'll be able to do really soon, is to stake the Empowa token in their vaults. The token staked in the vault can be lent to service providers that are in need of collateral to secure the loans they need to build the houses. Returns for stakers will actually be paid using a percentage of the net income generated through the Empowa platform. Naturally, of course, these vaults will lock up a significant supply of the EMP token. Taking a look at the Empowa token allocation, we can see that around 60% of the tokens are allocated to the housing project, which I think is very positive to have these tokens to fund the development of new houses, because after all, that's their goal and their objective. Then we have 10% that were allocated to a public sale of EMP that, as I mentioned before, was done at 0.25 USD per EMP token. And now we also have 10% that goes to the Innovation Fund. This is a fund with money that will be used to support initiatives by third parties to actually help solve some of the challenges that Empowa will have to tackle in this endeavor. Okay, Empowa also aims in the future to decentralize the decision making and the voting process for how this fund should be used. But of course, in an initial stage, the decision will be more centralized and will be made by the team. 10% of this allocation will also go to the team, which includes co-founders, team members, and advisors. 5% will go to the operating fund. The operating fund will support early market price stability and other financial initiatives by Empowa, as the vaults, for example. It will also support the staking vaults. And it will provide liquidity for staking and make sure that there are not many price fluctuations due to lack of liquidity in exchanges. But this is then returned to the housing project whenever it's not necessary anymore, and will be also invested in the main project, in the main activity of Empowa. Finally, we also have 3% of the tokens that were made available in a private sale. This was a private sale to strategic partners of the Empowa project, but I was unfortunately not able to figure out what was the exact price that these tokens were sold. And then 2% of the tokens were made available to ISPO participants, as Empowa did an ISPO as a way to gather some extra funds to fund this ambitious project. It's important to notice here that all Empowered tokens are subject to a linear vesting schedule, which is good to make sure that there is not too much sell pressure and the price of the token doesn't decrease significantly in any period. This linear vesting increases in every 15 days according to the formula that we have here on the screen. Private sales participants have a vesting schedule of 36 months, so their tokens are still currently being vested. Public sale and ISPO participants have a vesting schedule of 6 months, and considering that the tokens were sold in the beginning of 2022 and that the ISPO was even earlier than that, we know that those tokens are already all in circulation, which is good because we know that any sales pressure that was supposed to come from this public sale and the ISPO probably already happened. Then we also have here the Empowa team vesting that is also 36 months. So these tokens are still gradually entering into circulation. And we have the housing vesting for the projects sales that will still have 60 months vesting schedule, which is considerable. But anyways, I do think that these funds will only be deployed as necessary for the project and to fund the construction of houses. One thing I really enjoyed about Empower Tokenomics is that they have made their addresses public, which is great because we can use the handles, as we can see here, to track the addresses and check the amount of crypto there. This is good for transparency of the project and to allow people to know exactly what is being done with the cryptocurrency and if the funds are being spent as they were meant to be spent by the tokenomics paper and by the commitment they had with the community and partners. Overall, reflecting on the tokenomics of Empowa, I do think they seem to have a very fair tokenomics and distribution of the token with a great focus on the main part of the project, which is great because, having so many tokens increases the chance that the project can actually succeed, and that's great to see. They also had an important consideration for the innovation and improvement. They'll have plenty of challenges, so it's great that they set apart some money to try to tackle those challenges and to try to get help in certain problems whenever it is necessary. Then they also had the consideration for the operational side of the business, which I think is very good, providing liquidity whenever necessary to make sure that the token functions and acts as it is supposed to, because it has enough liquidity to fulfill its purpose. And also they are also investing in the part of building the community with their public sale, their ISPO, and even their community NFTs, for example, that they created for the community members that were supporting the early stage of the project to be able to participate earlier in the public sale and get the tokens they were supposed to. And it's also good to see that the amount of tokens sent to the team is pretty fair. It's not exaggerated. We have 10% for team advisors. So it's not too much, it's good. I think it gives them the incentive to work on the project, to give their best and to make sure that the token evolves in value and price. But at the same time, it also allows to have tokens available for the open market, for the community, and most of all, to fund the project. I would say a very ambitious project that will, in fact, need that funding to succeed. Unfortunately, there seems to be no public roadmap available for Empowa, except, of course, for the clear goals they have set in terms of construction of houses and the deadlines they want to achieve. But however, considering these two videos and all the progress and results achieved by Empowa so far, this definitely seems to be one of the most interesting projects right now, building on Cardano. They have a huge market, a huge problem to solve, a huge pain. They have a huge industry to tackle. What they are doing actually has a real impact in the world. They're using crypto to generate true impact to change the life of people, not only at the financial level, but also in terms of the social level, the inclusion part of Africa as well. Besides that, they have some significant metrics to show, metrics that are currently showing the need for this project and the significant impact that this project can have, which I think is very positive. Adding that to a great team, some incredible partners, and also a very carefully thought out project, I do think Empowa has a huge chance of the success, and they are doing things right. The only thing I could point is to actually see if in practice their lending mechanism would be able to actually work, considering that everything is collateralized with the EMP token. And if we think about it, besides being used as collateral, there is not much more demand for the EMP token besides speculation. So as there will only be sales pressure from every part involved, from the team to other investors. So if there is actually not enough demand for all the sales pressure, we might see, the value of the EMP token can decrease significantly and can be a bit volatile to the downside. And if it is, it won't act as a stable collateral value to be able to provide good enough guarantees for the holders and to be able to act as collateral and hold its value whenever someone defaults. However, I do think it's important to consider that even if that happens, and if they don't have enough collateral to pay for with the EMP token, they still have the ohms, okay, that can be used as a less liquid collateral if necessary. However, of course, it's important to notice that the ohms are there in Africa, and if there is not enough markets, if there's not enough people with the purchasing power necessary to buy those ohms, you won't be able to get the value for them to actually pay the people that loaned their funds and funded these houses. However, I do think that might not actually be a problem due to their lease-to-own model, because what happens is if someone defaults on their debt, on their payments, you can simply remove them out of the house because they're not fulfilling their part of the contract, and you can actually get another person to come there, another person that can actually make the payment. So yeah, of course, this would only be a problem if we really had a high percentage of defaults, a lot of people defaulting at the same time, and not enough people coming in to pay for these houses. And of course, although there is that risk, right now we have seen that 96% of the payments have been made correctly, which is great because it shows that people are actually, paying the house. They actually have the ability to pay for their homes, and the risk of default doesn't seem to be that high. So I would say a scenario like that would be unlikely, but of course, we never know what can happen. So something to consider. But I do think it's also important to consider all the amazing things that Empowa has achieved. They have done a lot of progress in terms of their app, Empowa Pay, in terms of already having homes and already having people living there and actually paying. So it's a project that, even though it's very recent, already has a lot to show, and that's very positive. And they have a good mechanism, if we think about it, a good mechanism that has a chance to actually succeed and to actually push the development and the construction of houses in Africa, while at the same time, providing real yield for investors, for cryptocurrency investors to get a steady yield that comes from these house loans. In addition, that Empowa is definitely a project with a real use case, and a project that consequently can have a significant impact into making blockchain more mainstream in the adoption of blockchain, especially in Africa. People do get from this project a notion of the advantages that can come from blockchain and from using it and adopting it. And once people overall in the world see the success of Empowa in Africa, I'm pretty sure many countries and individuals, I would say, would be interested in learning more about cryptocurrency and its potential to solve many of the problems in the world. But yeah, if you would like to know more about other amazing projects that could actually be able to drive mass adoption with the technologies they are developing, mass adoption for blockchain, of course. I would advise you to watch this video here next, the video on the end screen about Singularity Net. Singularity Net is a project looking to democratize the development and the use of artificial intelligence, making it super simple for you to just go into your computer and use artificial intelligence for different purposes, for whatever you need, while at the same time looking to create general artificial intelligence, one that is fair. Might sound spooky, but it's actually not. It's actually the opposite. It's an artificial intelligence that just takes input from everyone, that is built in an open source, clear, transparent way through the use of blockchain, and where there are no hidden agendas, no ulterior motives, no censorship, where it's all more honest and inclusive. And I think that's very important for our artificial intelligence to not manipulate us in any specific way. So definitely a video you should watch, and on my side, I'll see you there.